Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lin and we're here to talk about What If, the next show by Marvel today. It's going to be the first canon animated show in the MCU that will be asking what if certain key events of the MCU happen differently. It is being billed as an anthology series, each episode covering different what if scenarios, and I'm going to cover which these scenarios could be. But while they've been implying the episodes are standalone, I think hidden in the trailers, we can see perhaps there is a connection between them beyond the character of the Watcher narrating them, that is. Before we get to it, let us ask, what if we liked and subscribed? Oh, and by the way, there's going to be spoilers for every single movie and TV show up to and including Black Widow and Loki. So be warned, okay? So these what if scenarios are our first look into the multiverse, which is now back as the result of the ending to the Loki television show. First, let's talk about the connection between the episodes that have already been confirmed, which is it will be narrated by Jeffrey Wright, who's been cast as the Watcher. So Watchers in the comics are cosmic beings that exist outside of time, space, and reality, and they watch over the multiverse. They normally don't interfere, they're not called interferers, but the way stories work, in most of the appearances, they ended up interfering just a little bit at least. We have seen Watchers in the MCU before. In Guardians of the Galaxy 2, you can see Stan Lee talking to them about his cameos in the MCU. So let's start with the first scenario of the series. This is confirmed to be the episode 1 that will drop on August the 11th, which is what if Peggy Carter was given the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers? You can see her in her full super soldier glory in a costume with the Union Jack motif. All the promotional materials are calling her Captain Carter and not Captain Britain, probably to reserve that title in case they use Brian Braddock or any of the other Captain Britons from the comics later. Though I wouldn't be surprised if in the show at some point somebody call her Captain Britain, maybe as a joke. We don't know why she was chosen to be the super soldier in this scenario instead of Steve Rogers, but it's definitely not because something happened to Steve. You can see Peggy and Steve making smoochy faces at each other, showing that it have always been the good man, Steve Rogers, that she fell for, not the perfect soldier, Captain America, he came to be. Howard Stark also seemed to have made Steve a more clunky version of an Iron Man suit that's like a cross between the Ironmonger and the Hulkbuster. And you can see Peggy ride him into battle in World War II. You know what they say, couples that slay Nazis together, stay together. We see her fight alongside the Howling Commandos just like Steve did. And we see her do some kick-ass stuff like flipping cars, cutting tanks, making Nazis shit their pants. At some point, she seemed to be wielding a sword, which is probably Excalibur, an actual relic in the MCU based on the legendary sword of King Arthur from the Legends. Well, one of them. There are 2 swords in the Legends of King Arthur, and depending on the version, either or neither of them are really Excalibur. You know what? I'm not going to get distracted talking about King Arthur. So Captain Carter has been confirmed to return in season 2, which has already been greenlit. And there's also been rumors that she will be seen in live action form in the Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness movie. So in this scenario, we encounter the first hints of there being connections between episodes, because there is a short scene of her talking to a dark Doctor Strange. Note the bags under his eyes and his costume, which is different from what we're used to. He's wearing a more ornate cape with gold accents, and he has a symbol on his chest, which Doctor Strange wear in the comics, but not in the MCU version. Remember all of that for later. This Doctor Strange definitely have his own episode, meaning either he shows up in this one, or she shows up in his episode. She's also a part of this group shot, which I'm going to tease now and go into later. Moving into other scenarios, this next one is rumored to be episode 2, which is what if the Ravagers abducted Tchalla, Black Panther, as a kid instead of Peter Quill? From now on, I'm going to refer to him as Star Panther just to avoid any confusion, okay? This episode is going to be a bit bittersweet because Chadwick Boseman provides the voice, and this was one of his last performances before he sadly passed away. But hey, at least the episode itself seems to be fun and lighthearted. What we don't know is if in this scenario, T'Challa is related to Ego, like Peter was, because in Guardians of the Galaxy, they abducted Peter on Ego's request, or if this is more of a side for fun child kidnapping project that Yondu is doing. Ego will definitely appear at some point in the series because we do see a shot of him in the trailer. We also know that because Tchalla seemed to have more wanderlust and more of an upbeat personality, he seemed to have a much better relationship with Yondu from the get-go. I don't know why he doesn't seem to at least a little bit sad about not seeing his family again, but the kids seem to have really taken to this kidnapping. We see Star Panther and Yondu in nowhere beating the crap out of the Collector together. There's also seem to be scenes with Howard the Duck, so they probably free him from the Collector's collection right after that fight scene. Motherfucker stole my duck, can't have anything in nowhere. And we also know Star Panther at least meets some of the Guardians at some point because there is a shot of Drax with him. He's also in that previously mentioned group shot with Gamora, who's dressed in Thanos' armor. Does this mean she was loyal to Thanos and took up her mantle as his successor eventually? Or did she kill him and took over? The context that she seemed to be teaming up with Star Panther and the rest of the people in this shot at least seems to suggest that she's at least somewhat good. Unless it was them who destroyed the city, I guess. So the next what if scenario goes back to where it all begins in Iron Man 1. So it's what if, instead of being captured by the 10 rings, Tony was rescued by Killmonger. Now, this what if scenario doesn't seem grandiose at first glance, but it intrigues me the most because it's wide open. The implication is that Tony and Killmonger befriend each other, but what would the influence on each other be? Tony wouldn't go through the ordeal that made him become Iron Man, so would he even build a suit? Without the trauma he went through in Iron Man 1, would he even change his ways? He might remain, as Star-Lord would put it, 100% a dick that he was, instead of becoming just kinda an asshole. And Killmonger, who was mostly right about Wakanda needing to come out of the shadow and help bring about racial equality, but goes just a little too far with inciting global war and being all megalomaniacal. Can that part be tempered away by Tony's influence? Especially this version of Tony, who's probably a drunken playboy still? Only 2 scenes exist that I'm pretty sure are from this episode, which are both of Killmonger in Wakanda. In one, he seemed to be mounting up for a cavalry charge alongside the Jabari tribe on top of a war rhino. In the second shot, he's amidst the battle in Wakanda. He seemed to be fighting on Wakanda's side, and they seem to be fighting robots. That doesn't look advanced enough to be Wakandan technology or Ultron bots. God, I hope Tony didn't build a drone army to invade Wakanda with. Anyway, I think, though it starts with Tony being rescued, this episode will probably center around what if Killmonger become Black Panther. Next, there is a what if scenario where what if Loki was in charge of Asgard? There's a scene of him taking over a UN meeting. And there's a scene of him in a standoff with S.H.I.E.L.D. in what looked like to be the desert from Thor 1. There's another scene of him unleashing the cascade of ancient winter on some unsuspecting fools, probably the same poor S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Now, the question is, how did Loki came to be in charge of Asgard? Some people are linking it to the character of Party Thor, which was revealed by promotional material. I don't think so, because the teased Party Thor character is supposed to be Thor that never learned the lesson he did in Thor 1 by being exiled to Asgard. That would mean he remained the buffoon frat boy Thor from the beginning of the Thor movie, but that Thor still wanted to be king. He wouldn't let Loki rule in his stead. Instead, I think what it is Thor is dead. And I think I know how he dies. So there's a shot of Fury in that temporary encampment around Mjolnir, which they built in Thor 1. You know it's the recreation of that scene where Thor break into and try and steal the hammer because it's raining, and there's an arrow sticking out of something out of frame on the ground. There's also a shot of Hawkeye notching a bow in the rain like he did in that movie, but whereas he decided not to take the shot in the movie, here, I think he shot and killed Thor. In that previous shot of Fury, the agents are also aiming their guns at something higher up. I think that's Loki, because in that Thor movie, Loki also shows up here on Earth soon after the scene where Hawkeye almost took a shot at Thor. Here, I think Loki, seeing Thor dead, he take advantage of the righteous anger Asgard must feel to fortify his position as ruler of Asgard. Because remember, Odin was in Odin's sleep at the time. Because in these shots, he seemed to have the Warrior 3 as well as the Asgardian army on his side. And I don't think they would side with him on invasion of Earth in any other scenario. So the writers also said that there's an episode that takes place in this obscure point of detail during the events of Fury's Big Week. So what they're talking about is how Thor 1, Iron Man 2, and Incredible Hulk happens during a single week in the MCU fictional timeline. And Fury's Big Week is a canon prequel comic about how Nick Fury had to juggle all these 3 crises. I wonder if that is this episode where Fury dealing with the 3 crises at once, just a little bit differently from how he did in the MCU. Maybe something slowly snowball into Thor getting killed and Asgard invading with Loki. But they also described that Fury episode as inspired by Agatha Christie. So maybe it's a different episode? So let's talk about the Party Thor episode. I think the Party Thor episode is the Age of Ultron episode because Party Thor is shown fighting Ultron bots in Las Vegas. There's also a shot of Hulk fighting Ultron bots, but not alongside Thor and not in Las Vegas. Age of Ultron have a common complaint that the movie was more like a weekend of Ultron. So maybe this is their make good to show us a proper Age of Ultron. There's also promotional material of the Vision in Ultron armor, which I think must be from this what if scenario as well. I say Vision, but it's probably Ultron in Vision's body because the Vision's body was made for Ultron to implant his minds into, and he must have succeeded. And if you look closer at his armor, he has 5 Infinity Stones embedded into it, meaning it must function like the Infinity Gauntlet for him. This might seem weird because in the Age of Ultron movie, Ultron was never seen discussing or hunting for these stones. But remember, Ultron was made from the mind inside of the Mind Stone. Maybe there's more to him than we saw in Age of Ultron. He might have knowledge of the Infinity Stones, and when left to his devices, maybe after defeating the Avengers, he might have hunted them down. Another thing that lends to my these episodes are connected theory is that Party Thor is present in that team shot, which let's talk about now. So this is the big time money shot, which is an alternate version of the iconic Avengers shot from the first Avenger movie. Except here, the team is Party Thor, Captain Carter, Star Panther, Gamora's in Thanos cosplay, and a Black Panther, but we don't know who is under the mask. A good bet is that it's probably Killmonger. They also in modern day Earth, which we can see by the ruined skyscraper and the Japanese signs in the background behind them. This is hard proof that these episodes definitely cross over. These characters in this shot have to be from 4 to 5 different episodes. So it must mean that they team up at some point in a separate episode. I will get back to the implication of it. We also have a Marvel zombie scenario. We see Bucky fighting zombie Cap on a train. And I think this is Bucky, not the brainwashed Winter Soldier, because he seemed to be wearing the black and gold Wakanda metal arm, not the one with the Soviet star. And we have also seen shots of zombie Iron Man, zombie Hulk, and zombie Hawkeye as well. So in the comics, Marvel Zombie, they're not mindless zombies like we usually see in TV shows and movies. They maintain their intelligence and their personality somewhat, but they're completely overwhelmed by this hunger for flesh. That even though they're still aware, they can't stop themselves from consuming every single non-zombie flesh that they come into contact. From the shot so far, nothing suggests that they're going to be that kind of special zombies. So maybe we're just getting normal zombies version of the Marvel universe. We also don't know what causes these zombies, but there is the shot of Janet Van Dyne looking suspect from behind in the quantum realm. So maybe it's quantum realm related? I mean, you know how it is. They can use the quantum realm to justify anything. And you might have seen a Spider-Man in Doctor Strange Cloak of Levitation. Well, Hot Toy just revealed their figure for that character. And interestingly, he's called Zombie Hunter Spider-Man because he isn't called Spider Supreme or whatever, and he doesn't seem to have the Eye of Agamotto, and none of the footage show him using magic. We can't be sure if this character can actually do magic, but some of the toy poses and interchangeable hand does seem to suggest that he might be able to. Either way, this confirms he'll be part of the Marvel Zombie episode. So that's either 6 or 7 scenario, depending on whether the Loki invasion one and Fury's Big Week one are separate episodes. So 8, including the Doctor Strange one, which I'll talk about next. It's confirmed to be a 10 episode series, so they'll leave 2 episodes. We have other random shots that I can't place. There's a shot of Scott Lang's head in a jar, Futurama style, next to the Vision. I have no idea what the hell is that all about. There's also another shot of Vision killing himself by plucking out the Mind Stone from his skull. There's also one which I'm pretty sure is Hawkeye hulking out. It does go on very quick, so I could be mistaken. It could just be Bruce Banner. There's also one where Spider-Man and Okoye seem to be fighting a raging Scarlet Witch. There's also one of Black Widow, in which is seemingly a post-apocalyptic scenario. These could all be from any of these scenarios or from the 2 we haven't accounted for. So this brings us to the Doctor Strange episode, which I think is vital to my it will all connect theory. See, we have seen 2 different distinct versions of Doctor Strange in the promos. They were actually shown fighting each other. One of them is the one that meet Captain Carter earlier. The other one is dressed more like the MCU version of Doctor Strange. We see our MCU Strange revert time or create an illusion, whatever, back to the day where he got into the car accident. We know this from the tux he's wearing, but he's clean and is not wearing a time stone and is standing next to the car he got into the accident in. So this must be before he got into the car accident. Now, there's editing trickery here. They make it look like it's one scene, but it must be 2. We also see a beat up after the accident Doctor Strange, but this time he's wearing the time stone in the eye of Agamotto. I think this is a different alternate Doctor Strange, because if you look at it properly, even though he's hurt, he's not that hurt. Certainly not enough for him to need multiple reconstructive surgery on his hand. So what happened? Why did he still become the Sorcerer Supreme and get the Eye of Agamotto? I think he must have lost something else. Look at the scene of the dark Doctor Strange raging. Behind him is an apocalyptic version of what I assume is New York. It's at least an Earth city. At his feet is a lady with red hair, who I think is the love interest from the movie. She's covered in the same dark energy as the skyline behind Doctor Strange. The creators also said an episode with Stephen Strange is a dark, tragic love story with heavy implications. So I think in this alternate universe, the accident, instead of crippling him, it killed Claire. I think this still made him sort out Karma-Taj and an Ancient One, but instead of learning humility from his loss, he only had grief and anger. And remember, the villain Caecilius in that movie was trying to prevent death itself, also motivated by the loss of a loved one, his wife. So I think when Caecilius came knocking, Strange sided with him and became a disciple of Dormammu in order to resurrect Claire. The fact that he have a big ass claw in one of the scenes support that he's definitely up to no good. If you look at that scene with the skyline again, it looked like Dormammu have successfully invaded Earth like he tried to in the Doctor Strange movie. But as we know from the movie, his version of immortal life is a mindless and subservient husk. So Strange probably didn't get what he bargained for. That would explain the rage. So why is there another Doctor Strange? One that looked like MCU Doctor Strange. Why does there need to be 2 Doctor Strange for that alternate story to be told? See, I think this Doctor Strange story is going to be a true multiversal story. I think either or both Doctor Stranges will cross universes. Maybe the dark version goes looking for other solutions once the Dormammu solutions didn't pan out. That would explain him meeting Captain Carter. Maybe he goes to her universe. Maybe the good version follow him to stop him. That would explain the scene of him screaming, falling down a wormhole. So I think I've shown that there's definitely crossover between the episodes instead of just a neat little anthology series with standalone episodes. I think it will start relatively anthology-like, and then it will slowly start getting interconnected. Like maybe the first few ones are mostly standalone, but some characters like Dark Doctor Strange start showing up or other weird unexplained stuff start happening. But towards the tail end, maybe right around the Doctor Strange episode, we find out that the Watcher's narration is actually him explaining the multiverse to Doctor Strange. Maybe. I have no proof of that. That's just a wild theory. And maybe after that Doctor Strange episode, all hell break loose and we actually have a mini little like Avengers Team Up, which would explain the earlier shot of some of the major characters from this What If series seemingly teaming up. Maybe heroes from the previous episode get recruited to fight some sort of multiversal threat. And there is a comedic scene where Party Thor is seen asking someone to explain something again, pretending it was somebody else who didn't understand it, not him.
Slow down a little bit. There's a few people in the room that don't understand. Not me, I get it.
Well, even the himbo Thor should be able to understand punch the robots if he's talking about the scenario he's supposed to be in, which is Age of Ultron. So maybe this scene is Party Thor being recruited to fight across the multiverse, and he's confused by the concept of the multiverse. I don't know what threat they will be fighting, but the Age of Ultron thing could become a multiversal threat, especially now that the TVA is occupied and this Ultron Vision version seem to have all 6 Infinity Stones. Maybe they're trying to really make up for all the whinging about Age of Ultron not being an age. So, tinfoil theory time, right? I wouldn't even call this a theory. It's more like a wishful thinking about an idea which I think is pretty cool. What if they make us think this good Doctor Strange is the MCU Doctor Strange, as in the one we've been following in the standalone Doctor Strange movie and Infinity War and Endgame. But at the end of the series, having solved the immediate threat, but maybe not solving the larger threat of the multiverse, he got mortally wounded. And in a last-ditch effort, he jumped through the multiverse again. He landed in the middle of the sentence Centauran. It can remain in animation, but what if it shifts to live action? It is possible Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness is shot, and then we see there's another Doctor Strange, our Doctor Strange. And he warned our Doctor Strange of the Multiverse of Madness and the dangers it brings. And that can be one of the early scenes in the Doctor Strange movie. It's not crazy as it sounds. Like I said before, there are rumors already that Haley Atwell is returning as Captain Carter in the Doctor Strange movie. And it is called Multiverse of Madness. I just think that would be pretty cool. Feel free to tell me if you think so too, or just mock me in the comments. What do you think about my It's All Connected theory? And is there a what if scenario that you want to see? And as always, leave a like and subscribe and ring the little bell icon to get more MCU or other nerdy content from me. Peace.